Now, I don't know about you, but it seems the world has lost their marbles. As a matter of fact, to become a pure racist, it's hard work. It's a progression. Now, I want to say racism is not about different ethnic groups. It's not about male or female. It's not about color. It's not about culture even, although it can affect those areas. It's something much deeper than that. It starts with anger, but it progresses towards extreme hatred to a point where you wish you could wipe those people off the earth.
The poor, the farmer.
Well, good morning and welcome to Timeout this morning. My name is Jack Vint. I trust where you are that you're well, that you're safe, and that you got a hot cup of coffee with you this morning because it's a bit cold. Thank you for joining me. Now, the question I want to ask is, what should Christians do about racism? What should you do about racism? And what defines us as a racist? And how can we change that behavior? I want you not to go away. I'm going to say something critical about that. But before I do, I want to ask you, what do you think a racist is? What do you think about racism? Have you ever experienced that? How's your community when it comes to racism? Please write it in the comments. Even if you disagree what I say, I'd like to hear your opinion. Now, I don't know about you, but it seems the world has lost their marbles, literally. Everywhere people are fighting with people. It's like angry birds. And it's against different people, against ethnic groups. It's against it's almost like a serious division. And so it's a good thing to talk this morning about racism. Now, let me just say, there's a big difference between having racism in your life and being a racist. As a matter of fact, to become a pure racist, it's hard work. It's a progression. And I think everywhere we are, whether you're in South Africa like me or other parts of the world, everybody has been tainted in some way with some form of racism. Now, I want to say racism is not about different ethnic groups. It's not about male or female. It's not about color. It's not about culture even, although it can affect those areas. It's something much deeper than that, because we are different people, and that doesn't mean it's wrong. But when we have feelings of anger towards people, it's the start of potentially progressing towards racism. Let me explain that. When I grew up, I had 5 sisters and I was youngest brother. They oftentimes made me angry because they didn't agree with me and they didn't do things I wanted them to do. But it didn't make me a racist. It simply meant that I was angry and I got over it, even although I had a different of opinion. You know, today, if you watch social media, everybody is labeling people racist for various things. If you disagree with their podcast, if you disagree with their culture, if you disagree with their opinion, you're racist. You know, I wish it was as easy as that. But I'm also glad it's not as easy as that, because it's not true. And so you may be listening and saying, yes, I have been exposed to racism. I've had tendencies towards that growing up or in my community. Does it make me a racist? I'm going to answer that. Don't go away. Now, as I said before, racism starts with anger, and it's normally projected towards somebody or some group of people. And if it escalates towards feelings of hostility and feelings of where you now devalue people and you look down upon them, and eventually you get so angry you don't wish them well, you could be on your way to be a racist. So stop doing that. Now, I also want to say this morning that we can counter this experience that we have of feeling elements of racism before it gets to a point where it is progressed to where people label you as a racist. Proverbs 23:7 says an interesting thing. It says, as a man thinks in his heart, so he is. And that leads me to, why would people become a racist? What is the root cause of that? And I would like to, without getting too complicated, share that with you, what I feel. Maybe you differ, write your opinion, I'd love to hear. But I believe that people that are racist, a full-blown racist, it starts with insecurity in their lives. And it then progresses further. Insecurity about who they are, how they don't accept themselves, and sometimes how they feel God sees them or how they see God. And then the third category is how they see people and how they experience people and behave towards people. Putting labels on people is just another form of expressing our frustration and our anger. And I'm going to show you how to counter that. But before I do, I just have to say this, that, not all people that experience racism are racists. It's actually hard work to become a racist. It starts with anger towards people. It starts with frustration. It starts with looking down on them and not valuing them anymore, to a point where you feel they are not worth your time, your energy. As a matter of fact, if you could get rid of them, an extremist is if you could kill them, even better. Then you have performed what I call a progression into becoming a racist. Now, I always like to use Adolf Hitler as an example because Adolf Hitler is a bad example, but Adolf Hitler had tremendous hatred eventually towards the Jewish people. But it wasn't just the Jewish people, he hated a lot of other people, but extreme hatred towards it, to a point where he believed his race was superior to the Jewish nation, and that if he had wiped out the Jewish nation, he would do the world a great favor. And eventually extreme hatred caused him to become an extreme racist. That's what happens. It starts with anger, but it progresses towards extreme hatred, to a point where you wish you could wipe those people off the earth. It is a demonic activity as a progression. And so you may say, Jack, all right, I may not be a racist, but when I experience racism, how should I behave? How should I counter it in my own life, in my community, in my family perhaps? And I want to say something very simple, what the Bible says. 1 Peter 4:8. Above all, it says, Jack, love each other, for love covers a multitude of sin. Those things that we've experienced can all be dealt with if we choose to love. When you love somebody, it's hard to stay angry with them. When you love somebody, it's hard to demean them and label them. When you love somebody, it's hard to see them as lesser people. When you love somebody, it's almost impossible, if not, to hate them, to a point where you want to wipe them off the earth. And so the Bible encourages us, when you feel that feeling or experience feelings of racism in your life, choose to love that person. And it's not about their culture, it's not about the ethnic groups, it's not about their sex, it's not about their wealth or their poverty. It's about your attitude and my attitude to choose to love them in spite of differences. It starts with differences, but it progresses towards full-blown hatred. And then you become what the world call, sometimes erroneously, every second person is a racist. It's not as easy to become a racist as you think. It's a progression. Choose rather to love, because the Bible says love covers a multitude of sin. And when you do, it doesn't matter what their behavior is anymore. Remember, it's not only how you see yourself, it's also how you believe God sees you. And then ultimately, it's how you see other people. If those three things are in harmony, it's easy to choose to love. My name is Jack Vint. You've been watching Timeout. If you agree or disagree, write me a comment. And if you really love this podcast, please subscribe. Otherwise, I'm going to catch you next week. God bless.